Szép délután mindenkinek, kedves patrióták! Az amerikai-magyar barátság napján szeretettel
On this day of
köszöntök
American-Hungarian Friendship, I warmly welcome everyone here in Budapest at the MTK Sports Park, and I extend a special welcome to our viewers who are joining us via the live broadcast. And I respectfully welcome former President of Hungary, Pál Schmidt. László Kövér, Speaker of the Hungarian National Assembly. And András Varga, President of the Curia. On behalf of all Hungarian patriots, I wish to extend my most cordial and respectful welcome to our American patriotic guests. A warm welcome to you, dear friends. I must say that it is a splendid feeling that we think alike in so many things. For instance, we believe in the created world, in traditional values, in the importance of our culture and history, in national sovereignty, and we are all united by our shared passion for which we would do anything at any time, our homeland. Believe me, dear patriots, in this upside-down, deranged world, it is precisely us conservatives and patriots who are the greatest rebels. Yes, indeed, it is us who stand up against the abnormal mainstream, the soul-destroying globalist culture industry, and the so-called open society, the self and society-endangering madness, the fire of liberal woke and gender hysteria. Yes, it is we, the patriots, who are waging the revolution of normality across the world, and we ourselves are revolutionaries of normality. Dear friends, today's two keynote speakers on the American-Hungarian Friendship Day are two magnificent, intelligent and courageous men, Vance and Viktor Orban. What they share in common is that they know and love the people whom they represent through thick and thin, since they are one of them. Both are fulfilling a serious mission, holding high the banner of universal values and normality, and neither of them ever compromises when it comes to the interests of their homeland. Make America great again and make Hungary great again. Distinguished guests, dear patriots, and now let us listen to the two wonderful anthems of the two great nations.
Isten áld meg a magyart, jó kedvel, bőséggel, nyújts felé jelvédő kart, ha küzd ellenséggel.
Hungarinek a két csodálatos himnuszt mindig felemelő élmény őt hallgatni. Kedves patrióták, mai rendezvényünk házigazdája érte.
The host of today's event is arriving, who has been a politician for nearly 40 years, as a courageous member of the opposition as early as the second half of the 1980s, before the fall of the Iron Curtain. He dreamed of a sovereign Soviet influence-free world and did a great deal to ensure that after 40 years of communist socialist destruction of the country of Hungary, in 1990 the regime change would finally take place. Since then he has spent a total of 5 terms, that is 20 years, in the Prime Minister's office. A true patriot whose political mission, standing up to the globalist establishment, his illiberal thinking and remarkably bold political ideas are increasingly viewed as an example to follow by politicians around the world. The influence and power of the Alliance of Patriots for Europe, which he founded, are growing steadily. It has been 10 years since, in the summer of 2016, he was the only Prime Minister in the European Union to express his support of President Donald Trump's policies. Today he is one of the US President's closest allies and friends, thanks to which we are experiencing a golden age of American-Hungarian relations. Ladies and gentlemen,
Thank you. Esteemed Vice President, esteemed American friends, esteemed celebrating crowd, I would like to warmly and respectfully greet the Vice President of the United States of America. Welcome to Budapest, Mr. Vice President. I thank you all for accepting our invitation and for celebrating together with us the Day of Hungarian-American Friendship. There is a saying in Hungary which goes like this: a man is best characterized by his friends. We are very happy and we are very grateful to the divine powers that be that we have such an important man as our friend. And the eagle has landed in Hungary, as they say, and the ancient Hungarian bird, the turul bird, welcomes the eagle here in Hungary. I think we have not ever had in our history such a joint day. This is not a simple diplomatic event. This is a meeting point, if you wish, of the struggles and the hopes of the two peoples, the golden era of Hungarian-American relations, and the political and business outcome of this relationship is not a cause, but is a consequence. The basis of Hungarian-American friendship is civilizational and is spiritual in nature. Two freedom-loving people meet here today. Who would love their freedom better, more than the Americans? The United States of America is a country born in a freedom fight. They're fighting a globalist empire to be free. They built themselves a huge country. They needed only, 250 years to build this country. So may the United States of America be happy and celebrate on their 250th anniversary. And who would love freedom more than Hungarians? There is no other nation in Europe which has had more empires that wanted to occupy them than the Hungarians. Every time someone wanted to oppress us, we stood up with the sword, with bloodshed, sometimes with enduring work, but we fought against every oppressing empire. We didn't win every freedom fight of ours. Our 1,100 years of history is testament to the fact that our struggle was never in vain. The conquerors are no longer there, and we prevail. We are still here, we're still alive. We are alive, we are prospering, and everything is given to make us the winners of the next century. And we believe that this is going to be the century of Hungarians. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the distance between America and Hungary is huge. It's an ocean that separates us. And despite this, the freedom struggles of the two nations bind us together. In the American War of Independence, Mihai Kovács was a hussar officer who organized the cavalry of the Continental Army. Lajos Kossuth was celebrated in America. After World War I, our country was occupied by looting countries. Harry Hill Benthold, American general, defended the Hungarian National Museum and thereby made it possible for us to keep our treasures and for the treasures to be not stolen. The general's statue is still there at Freedom Square in Hungary. And we also respect Ronald Reagan as a hero, because he decided that he's going to win the Cold War and that he's going to liberate the peoples of Europe from the Soviet occupation. And not only did he decide, but he launched this effort. And he allowed us to return to the freedom-loving peoples. Praise be to Ronald Reagan. Esteemed Mr. Vice President, Bartók, Teller, Neumann, Kertész, Cukor, Pulitzer, and all the others are people who desired freedom, so they found a home in the new world. They became successful in your country and brought fame to their new and their old country alike. And I personally also remember quite well the decisive role of President Bush in allowing us to end communism and to send home the Soviet soldiers. In 1989, he not only visited Budapest, but he also made it a condition that the reburial of the victims of 1956 had to be organized, and that led us to the reinstatement of democracy and freedom in Hungary. We thank him for that. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Americans and Hungarians, their friendship has endured even in those difficult years when American Democrats wanted to turn the 1,000-year-old Christian Hungary into a leftist progressive country. However, one cannot fight the laws of physics. Freedom-loving people cannot be converted and to liberalist ideologies. The same thing will happen always. We will still be here and they are nowhere. And the Hungarian-American friendship is shining again in its old glory. distinguished Hungarian and American patriots, we are grateful to President Donald Trump for this pivot. He was the one who ended the power of globalist forces driven by ideologies and announced the era of strong nations. He was the one who turned on the power of the progressive elite, who called all the patriots of the world to arms by saying it is not a sin to be patriotic, it's a virtue. The president has shown that patriotic policy is also successful, can be successful governance practice. During his presidency, America has again placed its own interest in the first place and has given back the honor of national politics. His economic patriotism has protected jobs, brought industry back home, and has proven that globalization is not an end in itself. He ended illegal migration, he dusted off the old act. Without borders, there is no country. Without sovereignty, there is no freedom. We have every right and every reason to send our best heartfelt wishes to the American president and wish him a lot of success. The success of President Trump also is sending a message to Europe that national interest will not isolate but will reinforce. A nation has shared objectives: to be strong, to be independent, to remain free. We will not allow others to decide on our fate. We will implement our own plans. Our government has been waiting for this moment since 2010, and it was excruciatingly difficult to fight the Brussels and Washingtonian progressives. Your victory, Mr. Vice President, was almost like a resuscitation, and we actually seized the opportunity. While Europe was still reeling from the result, we already placed down the basics, the foundations of our cooperation. In politics, you not only need to be courageous, but you also need to be good in timing. And one needs to also know how to be hurt. You don't have to be hurt when you have a reason, but you have to be hurt when it's worth. We are visa-free to travel to America. We are cooperating in economy, in defense, in high-tech, in innovation. We have launched joint programs in energy. And it's so simple. Two sovereign nations are thinking and working together to make this a world a better place for our people. And the basis for this is provided by our love for freedom. My dear friends, beside the president, there is also somebody without whom we could not be standing here today. This man is actually and soon going to be standing here next to me. It is indeed Vice President Vance. In his person, we have secured a very special friend. It is difficult to understand us Hungarians. It is not only about knowledge, you also need patience with us Hungarians, because we are an ancient nation, and similarly to Americans, we also consider ourselves to be exceptional. There's a lot of things we know, and we have huge loads of experience. We consider it only natural that everybody should understand what is evident to us. Therefore, we don't pay too much attention to actually making others understand us. If they don't understand us, all the worse for them. Furthermore, Furthermore, we also insist on our mistakes. We are insistent that it is easy to make friendship with perfect people. If we are not good for somebody the way we are, well, it's their loss. So it is not easy to be friends with us Hungarians. But Vice President Vance is actually doing quite well, because he understands the old Christian prayer, don't look at our sins, look at the fate of the church. And this is especially true for us Hungarians. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Vice President Vance already wrote how progressive liberalism is turning its back on the problems of simple people when it was not PC to talk about it. He wrote his book that even if there is this false social sensitivity, in the end, the left will always attack its own nation. And we know that. We've been there. We've done that. But there's also a liberating political thesis that we know from him. He once came to Europe, and as one of the Westerners among the Europeans, he said the following: Europe is facing dangers from within. Europe is not going to be defeated by an external enemy, but by an internal one. And with this, he wrote history. He liberated in Europe the intellectual and political forces that were wearing and suffering from the muzzle of political correctness. So, viva, viva, viva.
And he is in possession of fearful knowledge, or rather a life instinct. From a great distance, he notices if foreigners, aliens, want to intervene into elections, and that is why he leads the commission investigating into these interventions, because interventions are made here and elsewhere. We have seen that in the United States. We pay attention too, and if we add up what we have seen, then that might not be a nice image on the Ukrainians. Mr. Vice President couldn't have come to the better place, and I recommend everyone keep their hands off Hungary. Dear friends, the other idea of Mr. Vice President is that progressive notions hogtie people. They hold back performance. They attack the values that once made our nations great. He started organizing the intellectual homeland background, which is capable to place the renewal of the United States on a stable foundation. That is how we Hungarians entered the picture. We ourselves also fought with our progressive liberals who held back the performance of Hungarians. Our solutions are also similar: God's family, homeland, and of course work, labor. This is the foundation of our friendship. Mr. Vice President, therefore it is dignified and justified that we can celebrate the Day of Hungarian-American Friendship in your presence. My friends, for the Americans and Hungarians who are worried about the future of Western civilization, they share a problem in common, and that problem is called Brussels. The progressive forces of the Western world have lost two important battles. First, they lost in Hungary, which opened the way for the other Central European countries. Then they received a massive blow. They lost overseas thanks to President Trump, Vice President Vance, the Republican Party, and the American people. They have drawn back from there. They have drawn back from there and they have established themselves in Brussels. They have received countless blows, yet their power remains fearful. They are capable of preventing Europe from returning to the path of common sense and traditional values. Progressive ideologies keep the originally Christian foundation, European Union, tied up. Brussels calls for gender ideology, woke, and migration, and they wish to make that the organizing force of Europe. They are persecuting their political opponents. They use the institutions of the European Union to silence everyone who endangers their power. There are ridiculous and openly unlawful procedures against the patriots. There are persecutions by intelligence services, and there's impotent governance. The continent slowly but surely will get crippled. Still, they want to continue the war in Ukraine. They say that they will support the Ukrainians till the very end. They don't even make a secret of it. Their dream is to send their own young to the Eastern Front under the flags of the European Union. Now, when the energy supply of the world is about to collapse, instead of peace, they introduce new and new sanctions. This is more than just being irresponsible. It is equal to suicide. If this continues, first, the energy prices will skyrocket, and after that, the European reserves will be depleted. When the Ukrainians blew up the Nordic stream, they shut a blind eye. And now that the Ukrainians have imposed an oil blockade on Hungary, Brussels does not represent us, but is in favor of the Ukrainians. And we should have no doubt they wish to make the attempted attack against the Turkic stream as ridiculous. We are being sanctioned because alone in Europe we pointed out the self-destructive policies of Europe and the games played by the Ukrainians. We suffer €1 million a day in sanctions and penalties because we protect our borders. There are procedures against us for protecting our children from gender ideology. We are under daily attack because we follow the rules of common sense in economy and commerce. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the years ahead of us will not be easy. Europe is threatened in parallel by a financial and energy crisis. If Europe does not change, they will be losers of both crises. And no matter what a wonderful heritage we have, the Western world will tumble down in history, and therefore we freedom-loving Americans and Hungarians have to join forces. We must save Western civilization, and for that we must fight the progressives in Brussels. We must close the Russian-Ukrainian world, and we must resolve the energy crisis. Fellow Hungarian countrymen, we Hungarians for that must perform a task that no one else can do instead of us. On Sunday there will be elections in Hungary, and these elections are not only about us. At these elections, it is a future and a fate, a destiny that we choose for ourselves. This election is about what path we wish to continue on. One path leads to a world where we lose our independence, where we are torn from our friends, and where eventually we shall become insignificant, where they would order us to take up arms, send soldiers to the war and send money to Ukraine. But there is another path. The other path is the path of freedom, the path of a world where we can stand up as a pride nation in our place set out in destiny, where we can build the 21st century Hungary successfully and freely, where we can do whatever we want, to provide support for families, freedom for Hungarians, and peace for Hungary. And for that reason, from here, I ask you, I implore you that we stand up for freedom, we stand up for our nation, we stand up for our future, we stand up for the peace and security of Hungary, because if we do not do so, no one will do that instead of us. But if we do it, and if we prevail, then, my friends, we shall be capable of wonderful things. It shall be from here, Hungary, that the reconquista of Europe will start, which will put in power new patriotic governments, and the power will be established, which after Washington, D.C. will change Brussels, and from the headquarters of the progressives will turn it into a bastion of patriots. God bless Hungary. God bless the United States. Distinguished patriots, dear guests, one of the youngest vice presidents in the history of the United States, and the 50th, J.D. Vance is up next.
Before I started my remarks, I actually had a special guest that asked that I give him a phone call, and we'll see. Let's hope he actually answers. But this is going to be very embarrassing. All right.
I'm sorry, the person you were trying to reach has a voicemail box that has not been set up yet.
Okay. Try one more time. I get a good signal here. It's ringing. It's progress. Hello, Mr. President. How are you? Mr. President, you are on with about 5,000 Hungarian patriots, and I think they love you even more than they love Viktor Orbán.
Well, I can't believe that. I can't believe that because I love Hungary and I love that Viktor. I'll tell you, he's a fantastic man. We've had a tremendous relationship and he does a job. Remember this, he didn't allow people to storm your country and invade your country like other people have and ruin their countries, frankly. He's kept your country good. He's kept Hungarian people in your country. And he's done a fantastic job. And let me tell you, I like him a lot, but if I didn't think he did a good job, I wouldn't be making a call like this. But boy, that sounds like a big crowd, and that sounds like my kind of people. What a crowd. JD must have made a very good speech to get this kind of a response. I guess. How did JD do? Did he give a good speech, everybody?
It's very early, sir.
It's early. Okay, well, I just want to tell you, I'm a big fan of Viktor. I'm with him all the way. The United States is with him all the way. And it's a real honor to talk to you. You're really incredible people with great enthusiasm and brilliance, because you're brilliant people. And I really love it. You have a man that kept your country strong, and he kept your country good, and you don't have problems with all of the problems that so many other countries have because they let their countries be invaded. And you don't have that problem because of Viktor Orban. That's the only reason you don't have that problem. There was a lot of pressure on him to do it, and those other countries made big mistakes. So I wish you a lot of luck, and I love you all.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's obviously a tough act to follow, but I'm going to do my best because we have got to get Viktor Orbán reelected as Prime Minister of Hungary, don't we? Now, this is actually my second trip to Budapest, but the first as a public official. Then I was younger and less gray, and my wife, our beautiful second lady, was pregnant with our second child. Now, we're back in Budapest. I'm the vice president, and she's pregnant with our fourth. And during our official meeting with the Prime Minister, I asked him today whether we could benefit from some of those generous family subsidies. But he said, unfortunately, Mr. Vice President, they're only for Hungarians. Now, we have had a whirlwind of a trip already, but I find myself thinking the same things on this visit that I did during our brief vacation here as a private citizen a few years ago. Budapest is a beautiful place. It was built by people, your ancestors, who used its beautiful architecture and landscape to lift up the human spirit. And it's an honor to visit as relations between America and Hungary have reached new heights. an exciting era of new ties on everything ranging from energy security to business and trade cooperation to closer cultural bonds. So I want to say, my friends, thank you. Thank you for hosting me, and thank you for being a great friend of the United States of America. This evening, I wish to address every man and woman in Hungary, young and old, citizens of every region, of every age, and of every background. I want to speak to the mothers and fathers of Hungary, to the grandparents who recall the dark days of communism and those first lights of freedom, to the hardworking families who strive to give their children happy and healthy lives, to the young men and young women who seek to start families and careers themselves, and to everyone in this audience specifically, the young, bright, patriotic Hungarians who care passionately about this strong nation and its future. I am here for a simple reason, because I admire what you are fighting for. You're fighting for your freedom, you're fighting for your sovereignty, and I am here because President Trump and I wish for your success, and we are fighting right here with you. We want no more and we ask no more than to be allies against those who seek to push Hungary down. And you have drawn the attention of the American people, really people all across the world, because Hungary has been on the front lines of such foes. In 2016, when the rest of Europe threw open its gates, you said no. When strange activists came to tell you to erase your heritage, you said no. And when a war erupted in your neighborhood, you were kind and generous. You opened your neighborhoods, your homes, and your hospitals. But you never forgot the needs of your own people and why, to Hungary, Hungarians must always come first. And for all these reasons, the President of the United States, the Vice President of the United States, and the American people, we admire you. And we want you to make a decision about your future with no outside forces pressuring you or telling you what to do. I'm not telling you exactly who to vote for. But what I am telling you is that the bureaucrats in Brussels, those people should not be listened to. Listen to your hearts, listen to your souls, and listen to the sovereignty of the Hungarian people. Unlike some of the leadership of Brussels, I'm not threatening you or telling you that we're going to withhold funds to which you're legally entitled. You will make the decision about Hungary's future, just as my fellow Americans will make the decision about America's future. So I come here not in the spirit of telling you what to do, I come here in the spirit of friendship, to offer a few observations about our shared civilization and how we can advance it together. You have advanced that civilization boldly in recent years, and you have done so with Viktor Orbán at the helm of a proud Hungarian nation. But boldness, we know this, boldness attracts naysayers. And that is something I want to talk about for a bit. A shared threat from within that both of our nations face. I speak, of course, of a far-left ideology given quarter in university circles, in the media, and in our entertainment industry, and increasingly among bureaucrats on both sides of the Atlantic. Now, its followers don't see Western society as flawed, yet worthy of reform. Instead, they view the very foundations of our shared civilization as illegitimate. In Western history, they don't see a proud tradition, they see only injustice. In our borders, they see exclusion and racism. In Christianity, they see not liberation, but oppression. And in the family, they see constraint. Their most radical members, of course, tear down monuments to our national heroes or throw buckets of fake blood on precious artworks in museums. They stage assassinations of law enforcement officers. They set fire to churches. They declare they're never going to have kids lest they increase their carbon footprint. But we, of course, we see something different, my friends. We defend our borders because we know that it's the most vulnerable among us who suffer when our streets are given over to chaos and violence. Some of them call themselves feminists, pretending they care about women. Yet it is their policies that have seen an explosion of migrant crime and sexual assault against the very women they claim to protect. We believe in energy security because we don't want the least of us to be unable to afford to heat their homes or to drive themselves to work. They say they care a lot about corruption. They take it very seriously. But they turn a blind eye to the corruption of Brussels, which has seen bureaucrats become millionaires by threatening and cajoling the sovereignty of the people across this beautiful continent. Now, you all know this, much has been made about our administration. The European press asks constantly, do Trump and Vance, do they have something against Europe? Let me be clear, we love Europe. We love it. How can we not? We were birthed from this continent, the United States of America. We love its people. We love its culture, we love its beautiful architecture, and we love the amazing history of this continent. But because we love this culture and these peoples, we reject the faceless bureaucrats who would drive your energy costs through the roof and open your country to millions of unvetted foreigners in the name of progress. And in Hungary, I actually see real progress under a man named Viktor Orban. I see a trading partner who will bring in record investment from the United States of America. We've invested more in Hungary than we ever have in our history. I see clean streets where people of different faiths and tourists of all nationalities can enjoy a drink or a nice walk in safety and security. I see a government that invests in its own people, in promoting families, creating good jobs, and building an education system that teaches love of country rather than hatred of civilization. And most of all, my friends, because I'm the Vice President of the United States, I see what the bureaucrats hide from many of you. Energy costs are higher in almost every country in Europe than they are in Hungary. That's because Viktor Orbán has fought for energy security while most European political leaders have not. I see the way those same leaders sneer at the normal, God-fearing people of Hungary. I see how they call the people of Hungary and America backwards for wanting cheap electricity bills. I see the way they look down on peacemakers like Viktor, a man who has done more than any leader in Europe to bring about a successful resolution to the war between Russia and Ukraine. I see the way they look down at, they scoff at European and American peoples who want job security and control of migration. And most of all, I see that those who hate Europe the most, who hate its borders, its energy independence, the people who hate its Christian heritage, they hate one man above all others, and his name is Viktor Orbán. And if they hate him, it means he's on your side. And to them, I'm going to say the reason you hate Viktor is because he is for the people of Hungary. And I stand here today because President Trump and I stand with Europe. We stand for sovereignty. We stand for Hungary. And we stand shoulder to shoulder with the man who has done more to defend those values than anyone else, Viktor Orbán. You know, the leaders of this country, perhaps more so than any other across Europe, understand that Western civilization, so despised by the left, it's not something that's self-sustaining. We can't sit on our hands and expect that everything is going to be fine. Our civilization, we've got to work at it. We've got to renew it. We've got to defend it. The people in this room understand that sovereignty and national identity are not problems. They are a necessary part of the solution. And when one country protects its sovereignty, even a country of 10 million people in the heart of Europe, it raises uncomfortable questions for those who insist there is no alternative. There is an alternative, and it's right here in Hungary. Think about this. If Hungary can secure its own borders, others can do the same thing. And if they do not, if they fail to control migration, that is by choice. If Hungary can place its own workers first, there's no reason that its neighbors can't do the same. And when they do not, that too is a choice. Viktor and this entire political leadership, they become a target of the bureaucrats because he shows that real sovereignty is possible. He shows you can be pro-Europe, you can be pro-America, and you can be pro your own people, and he's showing it in spades. And you all know this, but we're not just protecting our own people, the citizens of our respective countries. We're protecting the ideas that allow those people to flourish for hundreds and sometimes thousands of years. We just celebrated Easter, of course, all of us. And for 2,000 years, our civilization has been shaped above all and beyond all by the sacrificial love of Jesus Christ. Built upon the laws of Moses and the laws of Rome, and that society has produced not oppression, but the most free, tolerant, and prosperous societies in the history of humanity. Concepts like God-given natural rights, a sense of duty to one's neighbors, an obligation to protect the weak and the vulnerable, a belief in free will, and individual conscience, no set of ideas has brought mankind closer to universal human dignity and flourishing. From those principles that founded our civilization, everything else flows. The way we pray, the way we form and raise our families, our sense of law and order, and the way we dispense justice. These are truths rooted in Scripture, but let's be honest, not every society shares them. Because our civilization, while I believe it's universally true, it has not been universally adopted. It is not the default state of human existence. The greatness of London or Munich or a picturesque village on Lake Balaton, it's easier to take for granted when it's the world you already live in. But that world didn't spring from nowhere. It had to be built. Every brick of that beautiful Parliament building here, every span of bridge across the Danube, every law, every custom, all belong to work of generations built over time. But what's been built over generations can be undone in a single lifespan. That means that what our ancestors built, we're proud of it, and we love them, we must protect. I think this audience, this group of people, uniquely understands the stakes. Because the story of Hungary, I saw this when I was here a few years ago, I've seen it again today, is of a people who have repeatedly prevailed over those who would erase their sovereignty. And in that process, those people tried to erase what makes Hungary so special to begin with. Now, most recently, of course, that came in the form of communism, a lie that took the noble pursuit of equality and claimed it could be enforced by gunpoint. That's no coincidence, and you all know this better than I do, that once in power, the communists in Hungary set about dismantling every institution that gave this great nation its character. They shuttered churches. They rewrote history. They framed 1848 not as a national revolution, but as a mere prelude to a Marxist struggle. And they didn't do it all at once. They did it piece by piece. What they themselves called slicing the salami, removing one by one the institutions that anchored Hungarian life. But ultimately, thanks be to God, the spirit of King St. Stephen prevailed in this nation. And today, what I'm asking is very simple. I want us all to renew that spirit together. For again, we see sovereignty challenged in Hungary. Again, we see faceless bureaucrats in faraway countries telling you how to live, how to pray, how to speak, and how to govern yourselves. But you have a choice. Do you bend the knee to tyranny, or do you proudly stand with St. Stephen and choose a real leader this weekend?
Chanting encore.
We're talking about a leader who feels real pride in this place, in its history, in its culture, and in its way of life. A leader who will fight to preserve those things while also building a better future. Because the real divide in our time it's much more fundamental than partisan labels or specific policies. It's fundamentally between those who believe in the future and those who do not. Across the West, we've got a small band of radicals, people who do not believe in the future and are often the very people who so wish to govern us. It's kind of weird. If they don't believe in the future, why do they want a life in politics? Yet they speak not of renewal for our nations, but management. They're not trying to build a great future. They're trying to manage the decline of the greatest civilization in the world. Some of them say things like human beings are no more than pollution upon the earth. They look at our cultures and our borders. They look at the very idea of a nation and ask how we can get rid of them. Every position, I believe, flows from this fundamental error. They reject mothers and motherhood, fathers and fatherhood in the name of liberation. They condemn children to mutilation and sterilization in the name of gender care. And they practice institutional murder in the name of, quote, end-of-life planning. And if you dare speak up about it, they will fight using the modern tools of social media to silence you through censorship. We understand that we have a sacred duty to protect life, to defend the value of our people's hard work, to invest in our workers, our families, and our industry. And to make it easier to build a life that is affordable for all of our citizens. We are committed to our future because we are committed to the very idea of our people. We're committed to the idea of life itself because it is a gift from God and we never forget it. Now that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here, ladies and gentlemen. That's why President Trump sent me to stand here with Viktor today, something I'm very proud to do. Because I believe our nations are incredibly capable of greatness when we come together. Our work is not zero-sum. Indeed, it cannot be, because our goal is always to build a better life for our people. These bureaucrats, they've given us a false choice. Think about this. They tell us that the options are between isolation and globalist integration. They have framed their project as the inevitable future, even as their very institutions stagnate and crumble. But we know there's a better way. Cooperation between countries with shared values and parallel destinies. That is the story of Hungary and America, and we're going to keep fighting for it. A lot of you may not know this, but this is the story of a much longer Hungarian-American friendship. When my own country sought its independence 250 years ago, almost to the month, it was a Hungarian soldier by the name of Michael Kovács who helped found the first American cavalry units, ultimately giving his life in our struggle for independence against the British Empire. A generation later, Americans welcomed Louis Kossuth, the hero of 1848 and the father of Hungarian democracy. Now, Kossuth was greeted in the United States like a rock star, much better than a politician. His arrival in the more general cause of Hungarian independence, it captured the imagination of our young nation. He received the distinction, the second foreigner ever in our nation's history after Lafayette, to address a joint meeting of Congress. And his bust stands in the United States Capitol to this very day. Now, during that trip, I didn't realize this until a few days ago, that during that trip to the United States, Kossuth visited my home state of Ohio to make his case for Hungarian independence. We have some Ohio fans over here. That's good. Before the state legislature in Columbus, Ohio, he declared, quote, The spirit of our age is democracy. All for the people and all by the people. Nothing about the people without the people. My nation. He went on, my nation will rise, called to resurrection by the eternal principles of the law of nature and of nature's God. Even then, this great Hungarian patriot was aware of the intimate link between sovereignty, between self-government, and between our divine creator. And I'm proud to say that according to the history books, the part of the country that gave him the proudest reception and the biggest reception during his entire time in America was my hometown of Cincinnati, Ohio. You have to imagine this, and you tell these stories and you think, how can the bureaucrats think that we're not capable of self-government and choosing our own destiny? Because when Kossuth came to Cincinnati during his tour of Ohio, there were railroad tracks lined with citizens, delighted to behold Hungary's great freedom fighter. Reportedly, 100,000 of them showed up just at his one stop in my hometown. And the affection, I gotta say, I'm a little biased here, the affection was mutual. The people of Cincinnati, Kossuth said, quote, changed a wilderness of primitive forests into an immense city, of which there exists a prediction that by the year of our Lord 2000, it will be the greatest city in the world. And no offense to Budapest, but I think he's right about that. But it tells you something very real, that when Kossuth looked at the United States of America, he didn't see something radically different. He saw something familiar. In our nation, he recognized the same forces at work that were shaping Hungary. People building something of their own, out of wilderness, with purpose, conviction, and a deep belief in where they came from and what they were called to do. And standing in Cincinnati, he saw something in America that he believed was just the beginning. The West, he exclaimed. There you can see the cradle of a newborn humanity. It was true then, and it's still true today. But America, like Hungary, was not a place just of rest. It was built around the idea of creating and renewing. And those early Americans, like the heroes of your own nation, took that inheritance and they shaped it into their own. They added to it. They fortified it. They passed it down to their children and to their grandchildren, who then did the same, with the expectation that generations later, those grandchildren would carry it forward. On his fateful trip to America, Kossuth announced that Hungary was to become, and this is perhaps my favorite quote, the cornerstone of national independence on the European continent. This guy was a prophet. Kossuth called this the cornerstone of independence, the cornerstone of sovereignty on the European continent. And though he didn't live to see it become so, I declare that prophecy is true today in 2026. Now, under Viktor Orbán's leadership, you have held on to the civilizational goods that make a country worth living in the first place. Sovereignty, prosperity, history, a sense of national community, the redemptive nature of bringing new life and new families into the world. This is an awesome and difficult responsibility. Because across much of the West, there's a growing uncertainty about whether these things matter or whether they're worth fighting for. But not here. You have stood up to the bureaucrats. You have stood up to the nihilists. And now I wonder, will you do it again? Will you stand against the bureaucrats in Brussels? Will you stand for sovereignty and democracy? Will you stand for Western civilization? Will you stand for freedom, for truth, and for the God of our fathers? Then, my friends, go to the polls in the weekend, stand with Viktor Orbán because he stands for you and he stands for all these things. God bless Hungary and God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Patrióták, mielőtt hivatalosan is elköszönnék mindenkitől, egy kis kulisszatitkot hadd árulják el. Talán föltűnt sokaknak,
perhaps many of you noticed that Prime Minister Viktor Orbán's speech was a little longer than J.D. Vance's, not because we were unaware of protocol or we would not be good hosts, but all that happened was that while Viktor Orbán was still on stage in the last minutes, it turned out that we could call Donald Trump, and therefore J.D. Vance says his staff agreed that I don't have to provide him with such a long introduction as originally planned so that we could call the President of the United States. And I did promise you that I wrote so many nice things about him, and I promise also that I will share with you these thoughts next time he visits. We would like to thank the Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance, and Prime Minister of Hungary, Viktor Orbán, for their work on behalf of their countries and their noble mission. Dear guests,